Well, hello again from Voices of the Foothills. This is the Chatterbox, Deanie Pellegrinin, and we are so delighted that we have been able to finally corral the director of the Tryon Fine Arts Center, BethChild, to give us some idea of what is going on in this busy place. I think we're going to have to make this a serial event, Beth, because there's too much to cover in just this period of time.
Absolutely. We have so many things going on here. We like to say it all happens here because it really does.
Well, a project was started just recently. We'll talk about that as much as you want to. But I turned around and there was digging dirt and they were tearing down houses, and then there was an amphitheater.
Yes, what we really needed to do was find a way for our patrons to get from the lower parking lots, where most of the parking is, up to the front door of the theater without climbing these horrendous steps. So we built a wide sidewalk that snakes around our campus. We were lucky to have some beautiful land next to us, and there was a natural bowl. So we put seats in what was already being used once a year as an amphitheater during Super Saturday, and we snaked the sidewalk around it with these two beautiful gardens. And people are already saying how wonderful it is to walk to the post office from Melrose Avenue and use this sidewalk, and they don't have to deal with steps.
Well, everything is uphill or downhill. We have a train track that used to be in fact, the trains were probably one of the few things, or one of the first things that started Tryon on the map.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And of course, the Saluda Grade is so famous for that. But we're right up here on Melrose Avenue, which is so unusual for a performing arts center with a 300-seat theater, right next to the old Oak Hall Hotel.
Now, that's gone, right?
That's gone now. You can still see a little of the old stone wall. We're next door to Lanier Library, one of the 16 oldest subscription libraries in the United States. Excuse me, the 16 that are left surviving. So we're in a very historic part of Tryon, and we've got this gorgeous view of the mountains, which, of course, the amphitheater and the gardens show off now.
I haven't been out to actually sit down and look to see, but I understand the view is just beautiful. Well, probably when someone's performing, people will be looking at the view as much as at the performer.
I think they will. It's a small amphitheater. It's a very intimate.
How many do you seat?
Seats 150. Whereas Rogers Park seats 250. So we can't have bands, but I think we can have duos and trios and maybe someone reading poetry, maybe two people acting out a Shakespeare scene. I think you can have a lot of intimate things, maybe lunchtime concerts because it's in the sun. Wonderful for spring and fall events.
Speaking of lunchtime, during the Lenten season, I was privileged, and she won't mention this, but so I will, but I was privileged to attend a noonday concert by Mrs. BethChild. And you are such a musician. I mean, we're going to get to that. We can't do it all today, Beth. We're going to have to do this again. But over at the Holy Cross Church, the church was packed. Everyone was just enthralled because I don't know the song, I'll let her tell you, or the program, but she had memorized this. What was the basically some of the things you did?
Well, I played an all Bach program, and I am a concert pianist. And
aren't you a graduate of Juilliard?
Yes, I am. And
aren't we lucky?
Well, I still practice for fundraisers and for things that come up that interest me. I'll work really hard and memorize pieces and play for something. So I can't do it very often because the job I have now is demanding, but I still play when I'm able to.
Well, speaking of your job, we'll have to do a program just on kind of the music part of your life and the music of the area, because I call this a small Cincinnati, because we lived there almost 20 years, and there was music, there was arts, performing arts, live theater, some of it not so live, the zoo opera, the Metropolitan Opera actually came and performed open air in our zoo. And so I feel, but we don't have to worry about the traffic here, and it's very intimate. The performances are very intimate, but I've never seen a place quite like this. You came, Beth, I don't know how far back you want to go with this, but you have been made director how many years ago? here?
I've been here 3.5 years.
I'm older than you are. I was here 4. Anyway, but did you apply for a job here? Did they seek you out? How did you end up in Tryon?
No, I came here from New York. I had lived there for 20 years, and it was just got to be too difficult to get to live there. I had gone through a divorce and needed to be in a smaller town. So I came back to Tryon because my mother lived here, and I had grown up in the Southeast. So I said, I need to come back I need a smaller town.
And it needed you, apparently.
And also I was having some trouble with my music in that I had lost a lot of my passion for it, and I needed to have a full-time job and work, but it couldn't be in music. I needed to get away from it for a while. So this wonderful job became available at the St. Luke's Hospital Foundation. And even though I didn't know anything about fundraising, they were willing to hire me because I did know a lot of people here from my years in Spartanburg and Marion and Wadesboro, North Carolina. So I came back, got a job, and it's just, I've been working in nonprofits for 12 years now.
So you have, how does it feel to work for a nonprofit? I've worked for most nonprofits and owned a radio station working for nonprofit for a long time. But you came here hired by the St. Luke's
Hospital Foundation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And that was an offshoot that led to this? I mean,
it sure did, because then I started in nonprofit management, and I worked for a while at Hospice of the Carolina Foothills. Okay. And during that time, they built a hospice house. They have a wonderful inpatient facility now. Yes. And I love healthcare. It's so fascinating to me how healthcare organizations make it and deal with the government. I don't see how they do it. But now this is a executive director's position, but using the arts, which is what is near and dear to my heart.
You're responsible for the overall, but do you, of course you would be a part of, getting the people here for these concerts? Like, for instance, one of the first things I attended here was the gal, the Von Trapp from Sound of Music. You have a board that helps you do that, or is that your responsibility, or what?
Yes, it's basically my responsibility to book shows and to book artists, but I have a programming committee that is getting more and more involved. And we've never used to need a programming committee because for many years the Tryon Fine Arts Center was a landlord. Our programming was made up of all the nonprofits that were here on campus. And now they're not. They've moved off. They've gotten their own spaces. They're stronger nonprofits. And now we have this wonderful ability to book all kinds of shows. So I have a wonderful programming committee that helps me do that. Everybody feeds me ideas.
Well, it's hard for one person to cover all the bases in a something, because you have was trying to think of some of the programs you just recently had, that would take another 2 hours. But a lot of things up and coming. Do you have to provide a certain guarantee of audience or anything of that sort when you hire or engage, contract for an artist here? What is your responsibility that way?
No, I negotiate with the agent. I have to find a price to pay the artist that works for us. We always have to have sponsors, and we try very hard to sell out 80% of the house. And that is not easy to do.
What's the capacity?
It's 315 seats.
Okay. That's large for a town this size. We have more horses than people, but we only have, a little under 2,000 population right here in Tryon.
It is, very much so.
You draw, though, you publicize this in the area all around. I mean, you would have to do that, wouldn't you?
Yes, we do. We get a lot of people from Spartanburg and Hendersonville. Not as many from Asheville and Brevard, but when there is a really popular show, like we have the Steep Canyon Rangers coming next week, then we will draw from all over the Southeast.
It's because you offer such a diversity.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Yeah. Incidentally, I found a little article that I don't want to miss out on here, since we were talking about the structure, and it's beautiful. If you've never been here, or when you come to the area, if you come to visit us here in Tryon, I'm going to suggest wholeheartedly that you can't miss it. We're right in the heart of town, all sides of directions, and just turn at Morris the Horse down on the main street by the railroad track. You must visit this place. You can't believe you're in a little town of 2,000 people when you see it. But I saw something interesting about the building itself, and I had a little article that was written by our great architect here, Holland Brady, and Mr. Ernst Beckert. I'm not familiar with all this, but he was instrumental in helping design this building. Did you know that before?
He was. We've got a plaque in front all about him. He also designed St. John's Catholic Church. So I want to read this. Is it all right? Because I want to know what's in here.
I can leave it with you, too.
Ernst Benkert, another Tryon practitioner, was a very interesting person born in Dusseldorf, Germany in 1899. Ooh! He studied at technical schools in Germany, but World War I interrupted his education, and he became a Luftwaffe pilot. He moved to Chicago in 1922 and worked for various Chicago architects between 1923 and 29. He was a good friend of Russell Walcott. He opened his own office about 1929 in Winnetka and developed a substantial practice designing single-family houses for the North Shore area of Chicago. I believe Mr. Benkert has done some houses here, too, in Tryon. He claimed two interesting firsts in his practice. He designed the first split-level house ever, and he invented the first aluminum awning window because he got tired of rain blowing through.
I think I think that was one of the most interesting parts about what you're reading: the aluminum awnings and split-level houses, which doesn't go with the Tryon Fine Arts Center.
No, not at all. The front of our building did have awnings at one time, like the old Charleston awnings, but they were taken off because they just didn't work. But anyhow, going back to this article, it says, "I'm not sure what you think of either of those inventions, but there they are. By a strange quirk of fate, this former German citizen designed camps in Nebraska for internment of Germans during World War II. He first visited Polk County in 1946, later bought land here in Cooper's Gap, and moved to Tryon in 1961. He designed quite a few residences here, St. John the Baptist Catholic Church and the Tryon Fine Arts Center. And at one point, over a period of 12 months, Mr. Benkert and I jointly designed a house in Charlotte for the chairman of the Department of Art at Queens College. His son, Kyle Benkert, also practiced in Polk County briefly, but after a few years returned to Chicago and worked in the city planning field, as related below."
I just found this the most interesting little book, and I thought, well, you must see this, and I'm glad you read it for us. It's, as I say, the more you delve into the history and what made Tryon what it is, the more interesting it becomes. We have something unique here. We have a good workforce. If anyone wants to put an industry of any sort here or a business of any sort here, we can offer them all sorts of facilities, including this Fine Arts Center, which most places you have to drive miles and miles to get to something that's all-inclusive here. And as I say, we're going to make this kind of a little series of things with Beth because we would like to cover some of the many aspects, including the exhibit you have on now. Since this is not necessarily, it's not dated, these interviews aren't, but we can't, we don't want to announce something coming up when it's going to be maybe read about after it's all over with.
Right.
But is there anything that you would like to maybe kind of leave off with and tempt people as to something we'll talk about in the future, and what maybe your next project you have in mind?
Well, we are planning a phase 2 of our outdoor renovations. We would like to build an addition off the back of the building. It takes advantage of the mountain views, and it's the flat part of our campus. And it will tie into our existing studios down low, and people can just come right in. It'll be much more accessible. And besides that, the other thing I want to say is, you've alluded to this, in this area, in Polk County alone, there are 9 arts nonprofits. 9 that are 501c3
in Polk County?
In Polk County.
Well, I call this a dot on a map, but we're the crossroads of the world when it comes to all the facilities that not the facilities especially, but the good things in life,
Absolutely.
including the horses.
Yes, absolutely. So the arts is so strong, and if we can all work together and pull together, I think it's the further enrichment of life here will just be amazing.
Yeah. It will never become a metropolitan area because, according to the topical, the topical facilities we have here, but every inch is made use of. And I think that's what makes it so interesting. We've crowded so much of the world and so many of the interesting people from around the world that it makes it just an interesting place to live. And Beth, I'm going to close with this. You told me why you came here. I've asked other people that have been good enough to talk to me on this Voices of the Foothills. What brought you here? And some people have no answer. It's just a feeling. So if you want to get the feeling, just come and visit us. And be sure to look BethChild and her facility. I say BethChild because I don't mean to single out. You have a lot of people that make this place go.
That's true.
Right,
that's
right.
true.
Nothing is run by one person. Well, I like to think so sometimes, don't you? But anyway, you will give us some more time when you have a little vacancy before you start on this next big project because you've been so tied up. I'm just so thankful you took time today.
Oh, absolutely. I'll talk to you again. This has been fun. Thank you, Deanie.
Good deal. Thank you so much. BethChild, who is Executive Director for the Tryon Fine Arts Center, located here in the beautiful foothills of North Carolina. So hope you'll join us for our next interview. We promise it'll be a good one. So join us then. Until then, have a real great day. And remember, love someone.